All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I'd like to call on stage for the motion our speakers, Mr. Deepak Parvani, fashion designer. Mr. Fasi Zaka, who is an analyst and anchor.
Thank you, guys. Can you sit down?
Against the motion, we have Ms. Jehan, President of Pakistan Software House Association. And Mr. Nasir Kasuri, Executive Director North for Beacon House School System. All right, with that we start our Smart Technology is Making Us Unsmart. Can we have the first proposition speech?
So thank you. I'm just going to start off by saying that what we are not doing here is arguing that we're Luddites or we're arguing going back to transistor radios. But what we're talking about is that social media and the internet are not necessarily cause for celebration, but they are cause for caution. And what we mean by this is that before we get into this, we want to explain that how is it that social media or the internet or technology is making us unsmart, and we'll just get to that. But people like us, like me and Deepak, who are arguing for the motion, we'd like to say is that there is a history of people like us who have been proven wrong. Plato, when writing first started, he was really afraid about writing because he thought that it would affect memory, it would affect language skills, it would affect certain things. And then when the Gutenberg press also came out, they were really afraid that the place for education was the pulpit or it was actually the church. But what we are arguing is that this wave of technology is actually significantly different and we need to be quite cautious. And what we're saying by that is that the learning that we are doing now is increasingly shallow, and then we have become skimmers, and resultingly we've become dimmer. And what we mean by that is that we've shown that studies are showing that people who are using the internet, social media, and an excess of this kind of technology, there is a change that is happening in their brains. The prefrontal cortex, which looks at elements of short-term memory and decision-making, has been activated, but your long-term memory, which is how you make sense of the world, how you make sense of multiple types of intelligence and creativity, actually is being sacrificed with this. So the neuroplasticity, which is the way the brain is rewiring itself, is changing significantly. You might have seen that recently evolution has actually sped up, that even in Europe, women who use a lot of cesarean sections, their birth canals have become narrower, and that's only in a span of 4 or 5 generations. So what's happening to our brains is very significant, and it is not being felt by us because we're the older generation. We've gone through a different kind of education and socialization process. Whereas the younger generation has a very different ethos, and we will only find out in the next 10 years. Studies at UCLA, at UCL, and a number of others have all shown that attention spans have become shorter. Our ability to learn and our ability to speak is actually far more superficial. So I want to give you just one quick example also, is that when you look at 2-year-olds and kids that are up to 0 to 6 months, there you have to meet every one of their needs immediately, instant gratification. But by the time they become 4, you have to teach them no, because you have to teach them how to socialize, how to get on. This wave of technology is creating a perpetual adolescence where you are getting everything with instant gratification. The level of your socialization, your intelligence is all being compromised, and we are celebrating the fact that things are just easier. We have to go into this with caution. The level of smartness that we're talking about is one of application, not one of being.
All right, so on that note, since you mentioned creativity and how that is being sacrificed, I just have a quick question. Things like filmmaking, which was of course an art in itself, was restricted to only those who could, who had actually some learned or some expertise in that area. But now what technology has done is perhaps everyone can become a filmmaker. You can just download a couple of applications on your phone where you can record, then edit, and so on and so forth. What's happened with this is, and my question to you would be, do you think that we are able to actually do a lot more, considering that we have these tools or this technology which is enabling creativity in many other forms.
So again, democratization of access does not mean increase in quality. If you look at the World Wide Web, the amount of information that has increased is unparalleled in history. However, whether the question of quality increasing, for example, films, are they any better now than they were before? If you look at the film industry has become tentpole movies, which is basically a few big CGI-heavy movies every year rather than that huge range. So what's actually happened is that the level of input that you are getting from filmmaking has actually reduced. The corporatization of it has, even though we're supposedly everyone is a filmmaker, at the same time everyone can be a businessman, but those points of access and whether that you have the tools are actually resulting in any kind of tangible increase. I'll give you an example. Blogging was the big thing just a couple of years ago, and what has happened is blogging has now been subsumed by newspapers. Individual blogs no longer move as much. They've all corporatized to the major things from old school media because the learning levels, the institutional knowledge of those remain stronger than just letting anyone have a pen and write, and it's done more responsibly.
Thank you. Can we have the first opposition speech?
Can I say something? I differ with Fasi. He's a journalist. I'm sorry, Fasi, knowledge can't be owned. You guys don't own knowledge. You are not, the conduit. It cannot be monopolized. I think one of the great things about technology is the democratization process that it has had in everything, not just in knowledge, but in production. I mean, let's talk about knowledge. I don't think that blogs have gone anywhere. In fact, I think blogs have challenged mainstream media. I think blogs have exposed mainstream media for many cases for the fraud that it really is, for the type of hidden agendas that it does have, which have become more and more overt now. So no one can monopolize information anymore. Propaganda is not as easy to propagate, at least without a counter-narrative existing somewhere. There was no way for any independent counter-narrative to exist before, and there is now. My main argument in favor of technology, ek to aapne kaha tha about the changes in the brain. I think a lot of the studies right now are very preliminary, and I think one of the things we also have to recognize, I have read some studies in which it said that people's abilities to memorize and recall facts are not as fantastic as they used to be. Well, one of the reasons for that maybe is because it's the processing of information and the utilization of information which is now important than merely memorizing it. When you have the sum total of human knowledge available on your cell phone, memorizing beyond a certain point becomes quite pointless, because how much can you really memorize? First, you can ask me any question right now, I can give you the answer in 0.21 seconds, as Google would say. After I press enter, I cannot remember that much information. I need to be able to process it and use it effectively. Technology has done some wonderful things. उसको आप smart कहें, unsmart कहें, आपकी मर्जी है. एक तो the term smart is a bit vague, but let's take smart to mean cell phones, iPads, computers, and the internet. The convergence of technology has changed the modes of production in the world. I'm talking about democratization. One of the other areas that technology has democratized is the manufacturing process. It is now possible for independent young people, Jahara will be able to speak more about this because this is actually what she does, to actually invent. Sometimes really young kids, they can invent, they can come up with ideas, but now due to 3D modeling and 3D printing, they have the ability to model those ideas in virtual space and actually create a physical model of them without having to actually pay enormous amounts of money for prototyping and whatnot. The money that they do require can come from crowdsourcing of funds. You have websites like Kickstarter, which yes, you can access on your smartphone. You go to Kickstarter, you like something, someone's come up with a great idea, they're an independent inventor. You can invest in that idea. Independently, people no longer need to go to venture capitalists. They no longer need to go to those who would own equity and exploit their talent for their own benefit. They can cut out the middleman, essentially. So it's an
But
incredible
Kasuri,
enabler. It's
since
an
we talked
incredible
about
enabler.
creativity and
Yeah.
how that is, of course, being sacrificed, would you
Yeah.
think that this technology is actually making us smarter?
Well,
And
I mean,
how-
it's look, I mean, how do you define smarter? It is giving us the ability to express our intelligence far more than we could before. If I had a fantastic idea before and I was an independent inventor, there's not much I could do about it. Okay? I would have to go to the venture capitalist, I would have to go to the equity fund, I would have to go to the bank, I would have to beg, borrow, and steal. Afterwards, you know, someone would become a majority equity holder in my company, and I would not have control of my own
but
ideas.
basic skills, or learning the intricate details of actually of learning a process, of learning various skills. Doesn't that get compromised? Because
Like-
now you just have an application doing all those things for you.
No,
Even
like what
something like
things?
memory, or something like keeping notes, or something like
Dekhiye,
writing.
what's important to know at any given point in time is different. ठीक है ना जी? As I said, I personally think that memory. Yes, I mean, someone could say, well, what happens if you're stuck in the middle of a desert and there's no cell phone service and blah, blah, blah. Yes, there are those incidents that can take place, but they're very much the exception rather than the rule. I think we anyway need to reorient our brains and ourselves towards taking information which we can find instantly now and using it to create maybe new knowledge and using it to do interesting things. I think just memory recall is no longer, that important. There may be a time when handwriting skills are not as important as, are not considered as important as they are today. So these things change. There are a lot of things which we take for granted are absolutely essential for life, but they're not. Whatever is essential for life changes depending on the time and the technology that exists at the time that you're alive. And that is a constantly evolving thing.
All right, so collectively, technology has made us smarter, perhaps, more capable or more productive, but would you think that it's made us wiser or?
I just think, I have to say one thing before I give it to Fasi. You said something that you need to memorize stuff in today's day and age, and you can just put it up on your Google and 2.1 seconds and you'll have the answer. So basically, 0.2 seconds. So basically you're saying that the internet is the new dictionary for the young generation. And they should believe everything that is on the internet. And they should just go ahead and stop learning and go ahead and forget their independent thought processes and just go ahead and write everything on Google. Wow. I mean, what sense is that making as far as smart and unsmart technology is concerned? We have to look at it from the point of view of how a child is growing up in today's day and age, and how in our time, imagination was important, letter writing was important, learning calculus, whether we liked it or not, was important, math was important, smartphones and calculators were not allowed in school. So we actually had to make that effort to learn those things. As opposed to today, where your answer is in 2.1 seconds, we should just put it on Google, baby, and the answer will come. So why should we bother to go to school even more? I mean, why? We should just all learn basic languages.
It's a good question.
Let me finish this. That means we should not even learn basic language. We should only learn basic language, basically, Urdu, English, and a couple of other languages, and just go and type on Google, and we'll have all the answers to everything in life. So why even bother? As far as your other argument is concerned, which is about how it has become so easy to become a filmmaker, or to be able to design CAD, or to be able to design 3D images, all of these, let's use smart technology as components to make our lives easier, not take our lives over.
And just one thing is like, Nasir, when you said that, blogs have become easier and that the counter knowledge to the mainstream media, I think you might be unaware of somebody called Donald Trump in 2017. So there is a significant problem from that end as well, where, what we call fake news or biased news. So WikiLeaks is just a dump of information, right? Who makes sense of it? The New York Times makes sense of it. The Guardian makes sense of it. Secondly, your question on wisdom, I think the most important thing, and which applies absolutely well here, is a poem from T.S. Eliot, which he did in 1934, which is called The Rock. And there are 2 verses in it which explain the problem that we are arguing perfectly and answer your question as well. He asks, where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? where is the knowledge we have lost in information? A glut of information is not knowledge. It doesn't mean you have anything meaningful to do with it.
So taking an example of maybe, our dependency on technology, do you think we are able to do more or actually take that leap ahead?
So I think first we need to study what the topic of this is. It's not whether technology is good or bad. The proposition is that smart technology is making us stupid. I don't think technology either makes us smart or makes us stupid. It's the person who is either smart or stupid, right? Let's not blame. So does that mean that when we were using pencil and paper, we were smarter? I mean, we are just using technology, at least I am. I don't know whether Fasi and Deepak are relying totally on technology. I don't. I use technology to get the things done that I don't really need to use my brain on, that the computer can churn out much faster. I use my brain for the creativity, the imagination, the strategy, and all the things that I feel are important. It gives me time for that because the churning, the calculations, everything else that I don't need to spend time on is done by the computer.
But isn't that brain exercise as well?
It is brain exercise, but then you have to prioritize. There is a lot of things that you get done. There are a lot of problems that you get to solve because the mundane things are being done by somebody else. Now, Deepak said, we used to learn calculus, so kids are still learning calculus. Kids are still learning math and science. When was the last time you or I ever used calculus in real life?
That's not what I meant, actually.
No.
What I meant to say was the internet is not the answer.
Let me finish. Okay. Next thing is, as Nasir said, I work a lot with young people. Mm-hmm. So you and I are migrants to technology. We are, we weren't born with technology. These kids were, so they know how to handle it. They are not. I mean, I think it is really belittling to say that young people do not know how and when they can use technology for their benefit.
So I just want to go on about belittling young people. I don't think that's absolutely true at all. I think that if you have anecdotal evidence of people who are doing great things, that depends on your circle, not the general population.
Thank you.
Now, the second thing is that if you look at social media and the way the brain applies on it, if you ever have put a post on social media and you get 10 likes and then you see it go to 32, the way the brain scan shows that it's exactly like drugs. There's a reward. It gives you an incentive to actually do more ridiculous posts and things like that. So now my question would be is that out of what we would say we have knowledge of, what is not anecdotal and what is generally known, is that there are 1,000 times more people looking at stupid cat videos than doing good surveys for the benefit of mankind.
And Hamza Ali Abbasi gets more posts than all of you put together.
So Fasi, I don't know about you, but when I have done a lot of work during the day that I have used my brain on, I would like to see a cute cat video. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And if it's available on social media, great. I don't have to go looking for it and buy a cat video.
When we said,
I think the counter to that, I think Fasi is, I mean, the amount to which people can now connect with each other, the extent to which scientists can now share ideas, communicate with each other, and the way ideas now have started evolving. I mean, okay, so, there are statistics to show that the sum total of human knowledge, I believe, has doubled in the last 4 or 5 years. And the growth of human knowledge is exponential. I find it very, very difficult to believe that that would have been possible without the type of interconnectivity that exists right now. So I think there's more.
But the question here is not about, whether or not, it's not about accessibility, but the question is about, is it increasing my human capability? Is it increasing my capacity?
Well, look, it's one of the reasons it's increasing. I think what Jehan said, it's increasing your human ability is firstly, though, it's freeing your mind up. to focus on more creative endeavors. एक पहले ने point raise किया था, I believe it was Deepak, and I felt it was really not a very valid point कि मैं जब बच्चा था तो ज़बरदस्ती से मुझे calculus पढ़नी पड़ी थी, तो ये no, but the irony is he said that as a very positive thing कि having to, as a child, when I was a child, having to learn all these useless things, which I'm sure as a fashion designer, calculus has been tremendously useful for him. I mean, is in fact, proving my point. What technology actually allows you to do, and what education, देखें as an educationist मैं आप बात करता हूँ. Our focus now, particularly in the changing reality that we see ourselves in, is teaching children values. First of all, जो Beacon House learners profile है ना, it's predominantly values and teaching them how to use information and giving them research skills. ठीक है ना? So education is still very pertinent, but we have to redefine what education really is. The information is actually out there. So I think what kids can do now, that the information is there, they don't necessarily have to regurgitate those facts, memorize them, is that they can actually apply their minds to more creative endeavors. So rather than just the memorization of the information, their primary pursuit in life can be the utilization of that information to do something more creative, actually move them towards higher order thinking. That's one of the reasons why school systems like Beacon House around the world have been able to reorient their curricula and start moving in new direction. This is why we can focus more on values and research skills and use of information rather than just memorization, because it is out there and it is accessible. So I think it has actually expanded the union.
I'm just a bit confused here, actually, that it is the Beacon House debate, or are we talking about technology? First of all. Second, as far as fashion designers are concerned, they're highly intelligent people and super smart. Okay, they don't need, they also use all of these, they also use all of these applications that you're talking about as far as design aid is concerned. We were not talking about whether that calculus worked for children or not. What we were talking about, that the age of innocence is lost. Where a child, you are not allowing a child to grow up. You're forcing technology on that child at a younger age. At the age of 7 and 8 and 9, he's already got the iPad, he's got the iPod, he's got the gaming zone and the big TV in his house. He's already connected to all that you require as far as technology is concerned. What happened to his values? What happened to his age of innocence of growing up normally? What happened to the normal fact of the parents coming to the child and saying, okay, at the age of 14 and 15, I will tell you about the birds and bees, as opposed to the child coming to you at the age of 10 and saying, so I already know about the birds and bees, baby. Now what do you want to tell me about? That's what we're talking about.
So I just want to add one thing, and just responding to Nasir also, is I find one of the big misdirections of optimism is there is so much knowledge out there. So the World Bank, which is one of the preeminent knowledge factories of the world, I mean, most people see it as a loan institution, but what it really is a knowledge factory. They surveyed that 70% of their, actually 60, sorry. Factories produce, just one second, yeah. 60% of their knowledge online has never been downloaded. In terms of peer-reviewed research papers in science, about around 60-70% have only ever been read by the author and the person who reviewed the paper.
So Fasi, one quick question to that. Yes. But there is no information available that the same people who are not downloading this research now were ever interested in research before. So why blame technology for that?
Yes. So the question there is the way you phrased this question. You have simply increased the production of knowledge, but whereas before, you are presuming, the problem with this statistic, when people say knowledge has increased, is you're saying that, oh, that means everyone is reading more. We're just saying is that one is not leading to the other, and what was there before, whether it was imperfect or less, it was disseminated and understood more widely.
No, but then still, you have not, your proposition is that technology is making people dumber. I don't think you have, or less smart. Unsmart. You have not in any way been able to prove that. I think what you and Jehan, and you essentially said the same thing, that the existence of the technology, even if it's not an enabler, which is what you're saying, it's not necessarily detracting either. Now it's an external factor. Whether or not people research or don't research
so
or
the
take
question is not
interest
about
in higher.
accessibility.
I
it's
think,
not
I
about-
think,
Has actually-
hold on.
Has
I think,
actually very
hold on.
little to do
Let
with the
me-
technology, but the technology does give them that access
So
if
we've
they're
already,
so inclined.
So we've already
So
shown
what does technology do really to people? It isolates them, okay? It decreases human contact. People have no sort of premonitions of letter writing, which used to happen at one time. These cold emails go back and forth. You sit on your computer making judgments on Twitter and Instagram. You don't read anymore. Nobody reads newspapers. Everybody looks at pictures. Okay, magazine sales and newspaper sales have fallen all over the world. New York Times is on the verge of debt or
Yeah,
closing down
people
only
don't
because
read these-
nobody wants to
these
read anymore.
propaganda-
Everybody just wants to
People
look.
these
Can I finish my
propaganda
point of view,
machines are on
sir?
the decline.
Can I
Come
finish
on.
before you
They can't-
argue?
They can't die early
Can I
enough,
finish?
Deepak.
Just
Can I finish? Can I finish?
go ahead.
Okay. And everything about human being is using smart technology to take themselves further. Yes. Okay. Don't let it completely take over you. That's what we are trying to say here. Okay,
So-
maybe you guys live in that world because you're in front of your computers maybe 15, 20 hours a day and hardly have human interaction, looks like it. But as far as we are concerned, we are still human. For us, technology is to be used when we desire it, not that it takes over us. Thank
So
you.
exactly what we are saying,
No,
that
you're
we
not. That's
use
not what you're saying.
technology when we want to use it for
No.
our own benefit. So I don't know what kind of people you hang out with, Deepak, but
I don't even know. We don't even know what you're arguing, yaar. No one is. We aren't arguing for the fact that one should compulsorily
You've forgotten
use
everything.
technology.
We are looking
We're
at,
not-
you're looking
we're
at
not-
technology from your age. Look at it from a child's
Wait,
age.
wait.
From a child when he's growing
So-
up.
so-
That's where you look at the new technology because those are the new kids. Our eras are gone. We were born in the computer age.
So
But
I
we
think
were not
I-
dependent on the computer age.
Deepak,
They are.
Just a
Yeah,
second,
yeah.
just a second. So I think parenting hasn't stopped, right? So just because technology is available
Shove an
doesn't
iPad
mean,
down their throat, that's
doesn't
parenting in
mean
today's
that
day and
you
age.
have it openly available to
But
the
there's
kids.
a concept of
Those
iPad
parents-
parenting.
Actually, I'd
No,
like to
those-
connect
sorry,
this.
sorry,
Again,
sorry.
yeah.
So this is to counter a point that he said that you are forcing technology on kids who are very young. Nobody is forcing technology on anybody.
So I'm
If
gonna
you
put
are
this
sorry,
in his
let
talk,
me
yeah.
let me finish. So if you are a good parent, just the way that you used to make sure that kids watch television for a limited amount of time a day, that they spend time outside playing, sports and everything, you should still do the same thing.
They're playing sport
are
on
you-
the computer.
Why
They
are
don't
you
need to go
changing
outside.
your values? Why are you changing the way that you that you function as a parent?
So-
Just because
That's where
technology
the question of dependability comes in, right? So as a parent, let's say my kid is used to an iPad, and just to get rid of, or I'm not saying get rid of, but let's say if I want him or her to be at peace for another 20 minutes, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going
So
to.
you're
hand
a
it over.
bad parent then,
So-
Aksa. I'm sorry. That's wrong.
It's all about good
But the-
parenting and
but the
bad
point they
parenting.
made- But
There's
the point
nothing-
they made about the instant, instant gratification, that's what we need to understand or really need to see as parents, as educators, as
Listen, when a bad parent wanted to keep his child or her child quiet before, they would buy them a toy. This is just another toy. Let's not make technology a monster.
This is a toy? This is a
Technology is
disaster.
now a
They
toy.
can access everything but beyond their age. I mean,
No,
before
we
their
can't.
age.
No,
I mean, there
no.
are no, there are no, what do you call it? PG-13 or 12 on
There
this kind
is
of
no-
parental
there-
control on this kind of technology.
You can absolutely.
What are you guys
that's
talking about?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So monitoring
incorrect.
content
There are
is
child.
separate.
No. There are child-friendly search engines. There are settings on the iPad and all these smart devices where you can restrict them so that children can't access inappropriate material. Deepak, look, the point is bad parenting
And they
is
can't
bad parenting.
restrict
if
themselves.
if you are a bad parent, that is not the technology's fault. Before now, as Janara said, there was television.
So-
Before that, there were other activities.
yes. So
If
I
you
just
do
wanna-
not pay attention to your children, they will get involved in
No, so I
activities
just
that you
wanna say
don't
one
want
thing
them
over
to
I
here.
have one
involved in.
question for you guys, one question. In today's day and age, do you think your technology has helped people or kids become street smart?
So
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Absolutely.
really?
Yes, so I'd
Absolutely.
like to point out something. I think it's absolutely wrong for you to think it's bad parenting. It's bad practice, and I'll tell you why. The problem is that what we are arguing for is that the reason we are seeing that there are changes in the brain, that it's rewarding the wrong sides of the brain, we are seeing a generation that is still understanding whether the results will be negative or not. 20, 30 years ago, when processed sugar was not something that parents knew the kind of problems it had, they weren't bad parents then also. It was just that the knowledge and the bulk of trial studies had not caught up to parents. Today, parents are not being bad parents, they just don't know better. And that's why we keep saying, is the potential for this to make you unsmart and do lasting damage from childhood and the formative years is one of the things that we have to consider, and this boundless, ceaseless optimism is doing more damage than it is doing good.
I still believe that I still believe that you need to make sure that a child uses technology for a limited period of time. I think good parents do that because they know that it can damage not only their brains, as you say, but also that it can cause damage to their physical health if they are not spending enough time outdoors.
So
as far as one second, let me finish. No,
Yes.
no.
Thank you,
But the
Janara.
technology is not making people stupid. The technology is not making people
We didn't say stupid.
One second.
We didn't say
So,
stupid.
no, it's not making people
Unsmart is your proposition, na?
So-
The term smart, look, I'm going to say this to you guys also, the term smart applies in variables in today's day and age.
They can,
And not
hang on,
as a
you guys-
concrete.
you guys
In the
we were
interest of time,
talking
we'll
about
have
we
to-
were talking about the use of technology vis-a-vis education, and particularly. So when we talk about making us unsmart, we're of course not referring only to children. We're referring to everyone. The thing is, as far as early childhood is concerned, there's evidence to suggest that young children shouldn't be given tablets or smart devices, and there's evidence to suggest that they should be. I'm not going to make a value judgment on that as far as young children are concerned. Right now, I have my own opinions, but I don't think that's what this debate is about. But as far as education is concerned, and if we're going to equate education with intelligence, which to some degree it is, I think that that smart devices and technology has revolutionized education and learning in a way that was never before possible.
Agreed.
I mean, you look at, no, hang on. You look at something like Khan Academy, it is a revelation. Anyone from around the world can get a decent education. They can learn about an area that they're interested in without having to pay massive tuition fees, buying airplane tickets, going to those who would own and contain knowledge. It's freely available out there, and these are very good quality, resources which are there. They're, even some of the best educationists in the world regard Khan Academy with a lot of respect.
And
So-
also add to that, MIT and Stanford also making their courseware available online
for free.
So,
Guys, nobody's denying
so-
the fact
no,
that,
so it is
that
not-
technology has not
Making us-
helped
when
us.
you have
Of
tremendous,
course, it's helped us tremendously.
resources out there, you have this
This is
knowledge which are the
technology.
top.
and also
No,
please,
we're not talking. So we're talking about smart technology in a more traditional sense, as we take it as laptop, computer. I mean, how can you say something like? I took the example of Khan Academy. Is an amazing thing. Acha, Wikipedia, theek hai na? There are
Sorry,
a lot of.
so in the
I
interest of
brought up
time, we'll have to
Wikipedia,
wrap this.
And oftentimes mentioning Wikipedia is giving some the opportunity to like bite your head off, basically. But I don't think that's the case. Wikipedia is not perfect, but it has brought. Even if it is 90 or 95% accurate, it is a tremendous starting point for the access of knowledge and information for people. It has to be verified, it has to be checked. It's not perfect, but the amount of knowledge that is out there before was never available when I was growing up in school. And if you wanted to go to school in a third world country now, and it's even more revolutionary it's a great equalizer. In third world countries where you don't have access to quality teaching through remote learning, through Khan Academy, through distance learning, you can actually make knowledge, information, and smartness available to poor, impoverished children. What's more enabling than that?
and also
Thank you,
don't
thank
forget
you.
the collaboration that is possible across borders.
Absolutely.
People writing collaborative articles, carrying out collaborative research. That was so much more difficult to do before.
Guys,
Thank you,
can
Janara.
I-
We will just like to summarize this because we actually have, I think, a few questions to take.
I just have one thing to say. Nobody is denying what technology has done for the human race. We agree with that part. We're sitting here using technology. Okay, but this is not what we meant in the first place. This was not the argument at all. The argument really was how it's affecting us as humans. how it's affecting our children, how it's affecting
our
the
human
age of innocence, our
capability.
upbringing.
Not how, but
It's got
specifically
nothing.
that it's making us dumb.
May
Not
I?
how it's
May I,
affecting
sir,
us.
finish what I am saying, if you don't mind? Okay, just because you have a nicer mustache.
That's just a start.
I'm sure Salvador Dali would be very happy to see it. Coming back to, so what we're talking about is how it affects us personally as human beings, or on a larger, how it isolates us, how the importance of
It
sitting.
only isolates you if you allow it to isolate.
I can't be isolated. I'm a fashion designer. Remember? Okay, it's impossible.
Maybe
But
you're a loner anyway.
Are you mad? I'm Deepak Parvani. How can I be a loner? Anyways, coming back to what I'm saying is that what it does to us in the longer term. How clicking a button has made everything accessible.
Well,
So clicking a button has also made everything critical. Clicking a button has also made everything belief, whether you want to believe it or not, because the internet has become the knowledge for all. As far as creative is concerned, individual creative, yes, it's great to be aided by all of these machines. It's great to be creating what these machines can create for us, for human beings. Fantastic. But
Machines
does it
don't
allow
create.
you, can I finish?
Machine doesn't
Does
create.
it allow, as in, take you further, your creativity further, but does it allow you independent, original thought?
Yes.
That is the question here.
So we have a question here which I'll address to this side. What about the changes in the way society functions when a child goes out to play but there are no peers outside for interaction?
I don't know. I don't understand why it has to be one or the other. I think there has to be a balance with both. There are kids I know who were homeschooled and who learned everything they learned online, never been to school. And yet, when I asked their parents, what about the social element of school? They said, we make sure our kids spend adequate time at a sports institute where we have made sure that they go on a regular basis. So I think if you organize, so technology is an enabler. You have to handle it. You have to control it. You can't allow it to control you. If it is allowed to control you, then yes, you're stupid. But the technology
But that's
isn't
our
stupid.
argument.
No, but technology is not stupid.
So there's
Her
another
argument is you are
question
being
which
controlled
You are
because
allowing- you
you're
are allowing
already
it to take you.
stupid is what she's saying. It's not the technology that's making you stupid.
So there's
Yes.
another question, which is limitless technology in the hands of unwise people who lack good judgment is like giving power to wrong people. How can you vet information anymore? How can you get reliable information when everyone can disseminate so-called facts on Twitter or Facebook?
Well, I have a perspective on this. It's a rather strange one. I don't even know if I should necessarily put it forward. And it may be counterproductive, but I mean, my perspective is that, look, as far as information is concerned and truth is concerned, and how valid particular information is, I believe that everything is very relative. I think one of the great fallacies of mainstream media is that they believe that, that they're absolutes, that when they report something, it is the truth. I don't think that there's anything such as the truth as such. There are perspectives. There are different perspectives that exist, and technology allows you to access and view different perspectives and then make up your own mind. I think it comes back to what I was saying before, whereas before you had maybe usually you had predominantly two mainstream narratives. And quite often they were both towing the same line once you got below the superficial level. You actually have a lot of different narratives out there now. And because I don't think truth necessarily beyond a certain extent exists in an absolute sense, it's a matter of perspective. The technology gives you the exposure to various points of view and allows you to make up your own mind. So I think it's a very powerful tool.
And also if there is something negative, something false on social media, if you're looking at social media as being the only technology, it isn't. But if there is something false on social media, there are enough people who then stand up and say, this is false.
So we'd like to conclude today's debate with a session summary because we're running out of time. Just how it's impossible, of course, that for all of us to be truly self-reliant in terms of, memorizing or writing or doing all those mundane tasks, as we said. So we outsource a lot more to technological tools that relieve us of, challenging or learning new things. But of course, the point that Fasi made about, the bad practice, that's what we need to understand. That's where we need to really keep our head straight and evaluate. With this, I'd just like the audience to take the post-debate poll very quickly on your smartphone applications, please, if you could kindly open these. If anyone has a problem with the application, just raise your hand and we'll have one of the Beacon House volunteers come up to you.
नहीं काम कर रही ना?
It's not working?
You mean technology is failing us?
Yeah. Yeah, this is failed too, guys. The timer went off.
So is the timer. I guess we have a live poll then. All right, so all for the motion, can we please have a show of hands?
Are we for us, you mean?
For means that technology is
For the motion means that smart technology is making us
ये ना कहो,
unsmart.
ये कहो कि उनकी तरफ वोट करना है कि इनकी तरफ. Okay? Okay, पहली बात तो ये, पहली बात. And ladies,
So
lawn jodas
smart
on this
technology
side.
is making us unsmart. Can we have a show of hands, please?
What?
No, I'm not going to go. Okay. And those who are voting against it? So clearly we have a
They're winning the
majority.
argument. No, I didn't get it. They were supposed to just vote for those two and us. Guys,
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.